The wilderness has its own hierarchy, and at the very top sit creatures that answer to nothing. No natural enemies. No evolutionary reason to fear. Just pure, refined predation shaped over millions of years into something almost incomprehensible in its efficiency. Most predators want nothing to do with us. A bear will bluff charge and retreat. A wolf will melt back into the tree lean. But a handful of animals exist in a different category entirely, ones that have, through circumstance, instinct, or cold calculation, learned to see a human being as simply another item on the menu. Not a threat. Not a curiosity. Calories. From the frozen silence of the Arctic, where a polar bear will stalk a person across open ice with the patience of something ancient and deliberate, to the crushing darkness of the deep ocean where a great white shark moves like a living torpedo, these animals didn't stumble into dominance. They earned it, generation by generation, kill by kill. This isn't about fear. It's about understanding what it truly means to share a planet with creatures that sit at the absolute peak of nature's brutal, elegant design. These are the apex predators. And some of them hunt us. There is something uniquely unsettling about an animal that will actually come looking for you. Most dangerous creatures react, they strike when cornered, when surprised, when threatened. The polar bear operates on an entirely different logic. It sees you, decides you are worth the effort, and begins to close the distance. Deliberately. Patiently. A fully grown male can tip the scales at 700 kilograms and rise 3 meters off the ground on its hind legs, taller than most ceilings. But sheer size is almost secondary to what makes this animal truly formidable. Its nose is extraordinary. A polar bear can detect a seal beneath meters of solid ice, and can smell prey from over a kilometer away, even through fresh snowfall. In a landscape stripped of cover and color, it is essentially a heat-seeking missile with fur. What separates the polar bear from nearly every other land predator is documented, deliberate human hunting. This is not territorial aggression or defensive panic, it is predation. In Churchill, Manitoba, a town that sits directly on a polar bear migration route, locals don't lock their car doors. Not for convenience. Because when a bear appears on the street, you need somewhere to dive in fast. No big cat has taken more human lives throughout recorded history than the Bengal tiger. Not the lion. Not the leopard. The Bengal tiger, and the numbers aren't particularly close. The Sundarbans, a vast, labyrinthine stretch of mangrove forest split between India and Bangladesh, is where this legacy runs deepest. It is a place that seems almost deliberately designed to give a tiger every possible advantage. The waterways force people into narrow channels. The vegetation is so dense that visibility drops to almost nothing. By the time you hear anything, the encounter is already over. Fishermen, honey collectors, woodcutters, people who depend on that forest to survive, have walked into it for generations knowing they might not walk out. The tiger's method is brutally efficient. It attacks from behind, targeting the neck and skull in a single, precise strike. There is rarely a struggle. Between 1947 and 1983 alone, tigers in the Sundarbans killed over 3,000 people, an almost incomprehensible figure. Authorities experimented with dummy mannequins fitted with electric shocks to condition tigers away from humans. They tried face masks worn on the back of heads to break the attack from behind instinct. Some of it worked. Some of it didn't. In the ocean's hierarchy, everything has a predator except the orca. Great white sharks, animals that inspire a particular brand of primal human terror, will abandon entire feeding grounds the moment an orca enters the area. Blue whales, the largest creatures to have ever existed on this planet, are not safe. Nothing is. What makes orcas so extraordinary isn't just raw power, though they have that in abundance. It's the thinking behind the hunt. Orcas coordinate in pods with a level of tactical sophistication that researchers still don't fully understand, creating waves to wash seals off ice floes, herding fish into tight balls, teaching younger members specific regional techniques that function almost like cultural knowledge passed between generations. They are deeply social, emotionally complex, and have demonstrated what can only be described as personality. And yet in the wild, there is not a single confirmed fatal attack on a human being. Whether that reflects intelligence, indifference, or something stranger, nobody can say with certainty. They don't need us on their list. They already own the ocean. If you're enjoying this deep dive into nature's deadliest, hit that subscribe button right now. We're breaking down the world's most powerful creatures every week, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. There is a reason saltwater crocodiles have survived virtually unchanged for over 200 million years. Evolution looked at this animal and decided there was nothing left to improve. The saltwater crocodile is the largest reptile on Earth, and it kills with a method so efficient it borders on mechanical. It waits. That's the foundation of everything, patience so absolute it becomes almost meditative. A crocodile can float motionless at the surface for hours, with only its eyes and nostrils breaking the waterline, looking exactly like a drifting log. A person collects water at the bank, kneels down, and the trap closes. The bite force is 3,700 psi, the strongest ever measured in any animal. For context, a great white shark generates roughly half that. But the bite is only the beginning. Once clamped, the crocodile initiates the death roll, spinning rapidly to disorient, drown, and dismember simultaneously. It is over in seconds. What makes them particularly dangerous is their range. These animals don't stay in rivers. They navigate estuaries, coastlines, and open ocean, appearing in places where people simply don't expect them. There is no safe distance from an animal that is always, without exception, exactly where you least expect it. A lion that kills a human once is a different animal afterward. Something shifts in the calculus, the hunt was successful, the prey was manageable, and that information doesn't disappear. It gets reinforced. And in pride structures, where younger lions learn by watching older ones, that behavior can transfer. A single incident can quietly reshape an entire group's relationship with human beings. History has recorded what happens when that shift goes unchecked. In Tanzania's Njombe district, between 1932 and 1947, a pride of lions killed an estimated 1,500 people. Not a typo. 1,500. Over 15 years, they moved through villages with a familiarity that made them almost impossible to stop, learning routines, exploiting gaps in defenses, functioning less like wild animals and more like a coordinated, adaptive threat. The trigger is usually vulnerability, on both sides. An aging lion with worn teeth can no longer bring down a buffalo. A lion recovering from injury needs something easier. And in regions where prey populations have collapsed due to habitat loss or poaching, humans become the practical alternative. We are, from a purely predatory standpoint, relatively slow, largely undefended, and frequently alone. Once a lion figures that out, the knowledge tends to stick. A lion you might hear coming. A tiger leaves tracks, a trail, some trace of its presence in the landscape. The leopard gives you nothing. It moves through darkness without sound, without disturbance, without any of the signals that allow a human nervous system to register danger before it is far too late. What makes the leopard uniquely terrifying among man-eaters isn't size, it is modest compared to lions and tigers, it is intimacy. Leopards enter villages. They come through windows. They have taken children from rooms where adults slept nearby and were gone before anyone understood what had happened. The attack happens in complete silence, and the leopard is already into the darkness before the screaming starts. Pound for pound, no big cat is stronger. A leopard routinely hauls prey twice its own body weight vertically into a tree, not to eat immediately, but to cache it away from scavengers. That same muscle, applied to a human being, means disappearing fast and completely. They are also deeply adaptable, thriving at the edges of human settlements where other large predators have long since been pushed out. The leopard didn't retreat from civilization. It learned to use it. The hyena has spent centuries wearing the wrong reputation. Scavenger. Coward. the laughing opportunist trailing behind something more impressive. It is one of nature's most persistent misconceptions, and the spotted hyena has done nothing to deserve it. In reality, spotted hyenas kill up to 95% of everything they eat. They are apex predators operating a sophisticated cooperative hunting system, running in coordinated clans that can take down wildebeest, zebra, and animals far beyond what any individual member could manage alone. Lions, in many ecosystems, scavenge hyena kills more often than the other way around. The reputation, it turns out, belongs on the wrong animal. The jaws generate around 1000 psi, enough to crack giraffe bone and extract the marrow inside. Nothing gets wasted. They consume hide, hooves, and skeleton with equal efficiency, leaving almost no trace that a kill ever happened. What unsettles people most is how they feed. Hyenas frequently begin eating before prey has died, not from carelessness or frenzy, but simply because restraint offers no evolutionary advantage. The clan works fast and eats faster. For the animal on the receiving end of a hyena hunt, the distinction between dying and being eaten barely exists. It looks like something that should no longer exist, a relic from an era before mammals inherited the earth. The Komodo dragon, stretching up to 3 meters and weighing over 70 kilograms, moves with the unhurried confidence of an animal that has never needed to evolve an escape response, because nothing on its islands has ever threatened it. The bite itself is only the beginning of the process. For years, scientists believed the danger came from bacteria festering in the dragon's mouth. The reality turned out to be more sophisticated and more disturbing: venom glands that deliver compounds causing catastrophic drops in blood pressure and preventing clotting, triggering massive, unstoppable blood loss from a wound that will not close. And then the dragon waits. It will track a bitten animal or person for days, sometimes weeks, following the scent trail with patient certainty, knowing that eventually the prey will simply stop moving. There is no urgency because there doesn't need to be. The villages on Komodo and Rinca Islands have adapted in a particular way to living alongside these animals. Graves are covered in thick cement slabs. Not for any ceremonial reason, because the dragons will dig otherwise, and have, and the villagers learn not to give them the opportunity. History has a way of softening certain dangers once they recede far enough into the past. The gray wolf is largely discussed today in terms of conservation, reintroduction programs, and ecological balance, all legitimate conversations. But before human expansion collapsed wolf populations across Europe, the animal occupied a very different place in the cultural imagination, and for good reason. France alone recorded over 7,600 fatal wolf attacks across several centuries. These weren't isolated incidents or mythology, they were systematic, recurring, and terrifying enough to shape entire patterns of rural life across the continent. The bull shark earns its reputation through a different kind of boundary violation. Where most sharks are confined to saltwater, the bull shark has evolved the ability to regulate its internal salt levels, allowing it to push hundreds of kilometers into freshwater river systems. The Ganges, the Mississippi, the Zambezi. It goes where no shark is supposed to be, and encounters people in places where nobody thinks to watch for fins. Add to that the highest testosterone levels recorded in any tested shark species, and the behavioral profile becomes clear: an animal that is aggressive by chemistry, unconstrained by geography, and present in waters that have never felt like shark territory. That combination has made it quietly, consistently one of the most dangerous sharks in the world. In the layered canopy of Central and South American rainforests, where light barely reaches the forest floor and visibility collapses within meters, something is always watching from above. The harpy eagle doesn't announce itself. One moment a monkey is moving through the upper branches. The next, it is gone. The harpy eagle is the most powerful bird of prey on Earth, and the numbers behind the title are genuinely difficult to reconcile with the fact that this is a bird. Its rear talons reach up to 13 centimeters in length, longer than the claws of a grizzly bear. The grip pressure those talons can generate is sufficient to crush bone on contact, not gradually, not with sustained effort, but instantly, at the moment of strike. What makes the harpy extraordinary beyond raw power is precision. It hunts inside dense rainforest canopy, an environment that should make high-speed aerial predation nearly impossible, navigating between branches at full speed to snatch monkeys, sloths, and large reptiles directly from the trees. The wings are shorter and broader than most raptors of comparable size, a specific adaptation for maneuverability in tight spaces. It does not circle and wait like a vulture. It moves through the forest like a feathered missile that has already chosen its target.